Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I make this delicious meat pie. If you are interested, continue watching and let's get started. Here is the ingredients I'm going to be using for the filling. I'll be using some ground beef, onions, carrots, potatoes, thyme, maggi cube, ginger, and some salt to taste. I'll be using some all-purpose flour and some sunflower oil. To make my filling, I'm going to be using some sunflower oil. I'll be adding my onions and I'm going to saute these onions for about 1.5 minutes. I'll be adding the ground beef. I'm just going to saute the onions and the ground beef for about 3 minutes. I'll be adding some ginger powder, thyme, maggi, and salt. Then I'm going to stir everything together. For the ingredients and the measurement that I use for this recipe, I'm going to list everything in the description box so you can check it if you want to make this recipe. So it's time for me to add the potatoes and carrots. So I'm just going to continue stirring everything together. I will allow them to saute for another 1.5 minutes without adding water yet. So after 1.5 minutes, I'm going to add water. I'm just going to cover it, then I'll allow it to cook for about 8 minutes. I'm going to cover it. So now I'm going to be mixing my all-purpose flour with some water for the thickener. You need to stir it very well because you don't want any lumps inside your flour. So now after 8 minutes, I'm going to be adding the thickener. Then I will stir it together. I will leave it for another 3 minutes. Then it's done. I will set it aside to cool down. Now I'm going to be preparing the dough for the meat pie. I'll be using 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, which is equivalent of 1 kilo. I'll be adding salt, baking powder, nutmeg, and I'm going to stir everything together. You need to stir everything together because you want your dry ingredients to incorporate very well. I'll be adding butter. I'm going to start to mix my flour with my butter together until I get a breadcrumbs texture. So as you can see, this is how you want your mixture to look like or to be. So I'm going to put a well in the middle. I'll be adding my eggs. So now I'll be beating 2 eggs that I'm going to be using for this recipe. You need 2 eggs. And I'm going to be using some evaporated milk. You can use water, you can use anything you want, but I just feel like using milk for this meat pie that I'm going to do. So if you are a beginner, you have not done meat pie before, you don't need to pour all the milk at a time. You just need to pour it bit by bit until you get to your consistency that you really want. If you are a beginner, you have never done meat pie before, you don't need to pour all the milk at a time. You just want to add the milk bit by bit, and when you are kneading it with your hand, you feel it that the dough is not too hard or rather too soft. Because if your dough is too hard, your meat pie will not come out very well. And if it's too soft, you cannot roll it. So you just have to be careful when you are adding the milk. And also, you don't want to overwork your dough. So I'm just going to cover it with a cling film, then I'll put it in my fridge for about 10 minutes to rest a little bit. I'm going to be using 1 egg for the egg wash. I'm just going to prepare everything that I'm going to use if I want to start to roll my meat pie. So I'll just whisk the egg, then I'll set it aside. So here is our filling that we are going to use. And I'm going to use a tray like this, oven tray. Now place a parchment paper on top. Then I'll set it aside. So now I'm going to start to roll our meat pie. I'm just going to work the dough for just 1 minute. If this is your first time on my channel, I'll be very happy if you guys click that subscribe button and set the notification bell to all so that you will never miss any of my delicious recipe that I'll be uploading on my channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate if you do subscribe to my channel. So now I'm going to be dividing the dough into a little balls. It makes it easy for me to work with. So now I'm just going to start to roll the meat pie. For my old subscribers, thank you for always coming back. I really appreciate. I appreciate you guys for the fact that you always come back to watch my video. You give my video thumbs up and sometimes you share my video. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate. So I'm going to be using this pot cover because I want to have a perfect shape. I'll be adding the filling and I'm going to use the egg wash to rub it around so that it can help the meat pie to seal properly. Then I'll be using my fork to close it very well. So here is the meat pie. I'm going to repeat the process again. So guys, you can give this meat pie a try. It was so delicious. You can enjoy your meat pie with malt, with carrot juice, with water, with anything you want. It was really delicious. Trust me out. So give it a try. And you don't want your meat pie to be too fat or too tiny. As you can see, not too fat and not too tiny. I'm going to be rubbing it with my egg wash to give it that beautiful golden color. And I'll be putting it in my oven and setting my oven to 180 degrees for 20 minutes. All depends on your oven. If you have watched to this minute, thank you guys. I really appreciate. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm going to see you in my next video with another delicious recipe. Bye bye. See you. Here is the end result. Give it a try and tell me how your own comes out. Ciao.